Welcome back, everyone, to Onslaught Gaming 40K. And today we have a very, very special episode with a good friend of mine called the Dice Commissar. And he's going to give you an amazing breakdown of what the current meta is for the Astra Militarum. And including that, he's going to give you his wish list on what he foresees and wants to see in the new codex dropping in 2025. So stay tuned. Make sure to watch Ops episode 16 on the Onslaught Gaming 40K platform. Stay tuned. All right, and introduce the man himself, Mr. Dice Commissar. So go ahead and tell the people who you are. We all know that you got the hat on, so you're playing the part, right? You got the bolt pistol, and you got the book in hand. Tell them a little bit about yourself, brother, and your background, what exactly you're playing right now. We all know that you're playing Astra Militarum. What in particular are you running nowadays?
Oh, General Slaughter, Lewis, my man. So I'm the Dice Commissar. I've been playing 40K since 2001 ish. I've been playing Warhammer Fantasy since '94. So I've got a couple of years in the game systems. My name is Chris. I normally hail around the Tampa area, but Uncle Sam has got me moving around, so I love working for him, and he loves working for me. So that's what I like to do. Currently, I've been kind of playing some 40K on and off and getting into the games. I've played a lot of tournaments kind of on and off throughout the years. 2007 kind of onwards, I've been playing in the tournament scene. Also, I also worked for a while for the glorious God Emperor himself in Games Workshop. I served in a Games Workshop shop, did some time working for the Immortal Emperor out there in Glendale, California. So I would like to say, a vested interest in the hobby. I have a vested interest in 40K. And to be honest, my favorite faction is the Imperium. I really like Guard. They're a fun army because it is, like you like to say it, it's an average guy in space with a laser gun. That's it. That's all you got. You don't have any crazy organs. You don't get anything extra. Nah, you're just a dude in space trying to fight that giant 9-foot tall super space marine. I mean, I'm just going to shoot him repeatedly with the las gun. Probably die. But for the Emperor, I'm going to succeed.
We shall hope. We shall hope. And may the Emperor protect you.
Exactly.
So tell the people a little bit about an event that you might be potentially coming up for. Matter
So
of fact, you are going up to.
So I have my guardsmen coming. I'm going to be going to the big WTC event and teams event in Dallas. That's going to be huge. I'm playing with a big team out there called the Cheesemen of the Apocalypse. Shout out to my boys. They're a fun bunch. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
And then I'm also coming to your event, Lewis. I'm coming out to the big Crucible. Shout out. What?
Love it. But you're not going to be playing at that one. You're going to be.
No, I'm going to be handing out yellow cards and red cards with you, buddy. We're going to be giving people the law.
That's right. Lay it down the law.
Well, I mean, people need to learn, or they get shot in the face by a bolt pistol. Who cares?
That's right. I love it. And if not, I'll just corrupt them and bring them into chaos.
Well, wait. The book says something about that. It says don't do that. See?
Gotta love it, brother. So thank you very much for participating on the show today, brother. So we're gonna go ahead and pull up a PowerPoint presentation that you so gracefully put together for the show itself. I really love it. When I was looking through it, we're going to talk through it, or you're going to talk through it and give us your thoughts on what the current meta is and what your wish list is going to be in the future.
Absolutely, Lewis. I look forward. So Guard has changed ever since the big meta change that we've had. We've had a lot of kind of change throughout the whole thing. I see we're ahead in the slides, but hey, this is for the Emperor and my little take on why the Guard is good and why it has some issues, right? So when 10th started out, Guard had, some pretty good things going for them. They had some of the most impressive, and still have some of the most impressive, indirect fire in the game. They had reinforcements. The strat was pretty good. So good, in fact, that GW had to take an axe to it, and you let me only use it once a game now. Womp, womp, wah, wah. But hey, let's talk about what's hot right now in the current meta for Guard. So as of
I know one thing to cut you off, right? They should allow your army to fall back and shoot with all of those tanks.
Oh my god, yeah. All my tanks should be able to fall back and shoot. All my guardsmen should be able to fall back and shoot.
Everything.
In fact, it used to be an order that you could give during 9th edition where you could fall back and shoot. But hey, maybe they'll give it back to us when they give us a new codex.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for you on the new codex drop that's coming out next year. Recently, what was it? Nova recently did some leaks, or not some leaks, but some previews to all of the new roadmaps that's coming along. And in the Warhammer 40K portion, they named and donned the Astra Militarum to be first. Correct me if I'm wrong.
First in FY25. We're looking at Guard, baby! And they're not going to change this to 11th edition before we get Guard out and get to use them. So buy the Emperor, finally get to buy a book and have fun with it.
Gotta love it.
So stoked.
So before we get into that, what's hot now?
So what's hot now? Let's talk about it. So I did some analysis for you, Lewis. I did some number crunching. I looked at the metrics and whatnot. I broke out some BCP stuff. And I'm going to tell you right now, hot, super hot right now, Gaunt's Ghosts. It is the ultimate metric monkey board. You can use it to do almost everything. You pick it up at the end of your opponent's turn and immediately put it back down during your turn. So you get that pick up, put down kind of application. But also with Guard, when you put it back into play, you can reissue 2 orders during the movement phase. So normally, Guard command happens during the command phase. But if you put in something from Deep Strike, you get to issue orders at that moment it comes in. So it comes in with 2 fresh more orders that you can then augment your army. It is pretty nice. You can take your Rough Riders, for example, tell them in the beginning of the turn, move, get an extra 3 inches of movement, move 15 inches, drop Gaunt's Ghosts within 6 inches behind him, and then order them again to then fix bayonets and hit on 2s.
Gotta love it. Wow.
That's pretty nice.
Very strong, especially with those Melt-A-Spears.
Melt-A-Spears are nice, buddy. Melt-A-Spears are just dope. Like, continuing on this theme of what's hot, Lord Solar. Most armies in the Guard right now are rocking a Lord Solar plus a battle line infantry unit to shove them in, and then putting a platoon leader next to it. It's the sandwich. And what you get from that is you get the Lord Solar being able to issue orders 24 inches to anything he wants. Because he can do that. You think he's
an auto-include?
I would say if he's not an auto-include, he's definitely a should have, or maybe should think about strongly.
Okay.
The new hotness with the current meta is a nice little metric where you take Bulgrins and you shove them in Chimeras. So that's right now the hotness, is taking transports and shoving things into them. Really, the Chimera has turned out to be, as it is, the workhorse of the Imperium. It's got 11 wounds. It's T9. It's got decent weapons on it. So you could take either double flamers or you could take double heavy bolters. It's got a lasgun array on it to shoot things with T3. It does things. It takes out one of those nice, pretty hunter-killer missiles that you're never going to hit with, but maybe. And generally speaking, you get to move your Bulgrin right onto the middle of that board, sit on one of those central objectives, and then camp out and have a good time.
And do some serious work, yeah. I love it.
And do some work, get some points. That's what we're trying to do as Guard. You're sacrificing your units, but you're trying to do it in a way that you're going to manage to take the points with you. That's some nice things about Guard, is things are cheap enough that you can take it. A Bulgrin unit is something like 90 points. The Chimera himself is another 75. that's actually pretty comparable to looking at like a big full 10-man unit of Terminators or something like that.
It is. It's cheaper actually by like 15 points.
Dink!
Yep. So with that being said, they are a scary unit. I played against them or into them again with my World Eaters, and being -1 damage is really gross and really takes a specific specialist type unit to really kill those Bullgryns. Especially when you have a unit of 6, they almost become nigh impossible to kill unless you're something other than damage 2, right? If you're damage 1 and I go into them with 50 attack from a Berserker unit or 48 attacks if I have 2 Eviscerators, it takes probably that many to actually do some work. But just let everyone know, how much work does it actually take to kill those units, and how much effective, how much good luck have you had using those units?
I'll say this. I've had a unit, the little 3-man unit of Bulgrin, because that's as many as you can shove in the Chimera. The Chimera rolled up, sat in the objective. My opponent spent a turn killing the Chimera, popped out the 3 Bulgrins. They got real angry. They piled into the nearest unit in combat. And then my opponent spent 2 more turns trying to kill those guys. They have a 6-up Feel No Pain natively between all Bulgrin and Ogrin. They have either 3 wounds or 4 wounds, depending on what shield you give them. And then, depending on that same shield, they either have a 4-up invul or a regular 4-up save. The 4-up invul save, standard. At that point, your opponent's using AP2 weapons, and you're just like, whatever, 4-up invul save. Oh, by the way, damage reduction 1, so enjoy, you specialized melee unit. Okay, come at me, bro. All I have to do is survive long enough with the Bulgrin. That way I can get my tanks in position to kill you anyway. Speaking of tanks, I have to say, and maybe I'm just biased, but the Leman Russ is by far the best tank in 40K today. Point for point, ability to ability, the ubiquitous Leman Russ tank is by far one of the best. And in that subset, I would say Exterminators are right now hot. Super hot. That native ability to do a proc an AP -1 on a unit they're shooting at.
Wow.
No brainer.
Yeah.
That's big. And then, in my opinion, my favorite tank is the Demolisher. It's pricey, 200 points. But the native ability of it is it can roll into combat, sit into combat, and fire its blast weapons into combat. No minus, no penalties. Yeah. I'm going to just shoot you with my Demolisher Cannon anyway. I want to be in combat, in fact. Enjoy. Have a nice day. So, that's the Commissar's opinion on this. Other people like battle cannons, so they take the regular old 170-point one. The Executioner has a pretty good proc against Space Marine Fluff and Space Marine Terminators. It just does a lot of AP -3 damage right there with the plasma cannons. That's pretty good. So, you get your flavors. So you're looking at anywhere from 145 points for the Vanquisher, which is very specialized in killing tanks, monsters, to then your kind of A-game kind of listers where you got, Executioners, Exterminators, and regular old battle cannons, which are pretty good at kind of regular general fluff troops. Demolishers, in my opinion, the way I run them is the Demolisher Cannon. That's AP -3. Then it runs multi-meltas on the side. That's 4 shots multi-melta, AP -4. And then the last cannon on the front, and then a Hunter Killer. So when it shoots at Terminators, AP -3 generally. Enjoy. Have fun. Yep. And if you fail any one of those saves, by the way, it's D6 damage. Die. Go away. Yep. Shoot.
So why would people take a Demolisher and Exterminator over everything else, the other variants of the Leman Russ?
So I wouldn't say people are taking... maybe the only reason to take over a Demolisher would be because the Demolisher is 200 points, right? It's the beefiest of the bunch. 200 points for a Demolisher is a lot. The base ability of being able to shoot blast weapons in combat, which is normally the bane for most tanks...
Strong.
Is pretty a strong ability, so it kind of balances itself out. So
it circumvents that inability to basically fall back and shoot if you take a demolisher cannon.
Because I don't need to. I just stand in combat and shoot you anyway.
That's
and
right.
then you're still swinging into a toughness 11, 13 wound tank.
Yes.
AP, and it's got a 2-up armor save natively.
Love it.
So, womp womp, enjoy trying to kill me. Most people can't. For the Emperor. Continuing on this train, by the way, of tanks.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk about tanks. We love the tanks, but why is the Rogadorn? So that's new to me. Because a lot of people, so the community, at least where I'm at, right, you used to be at, they're kind of 50-50 when it comes to Rogadorns. Why are Rogadorns in your list?
So there's now a kind of a picky list where people aren't taking just one Rogadorn, people are taking 3.
Ah, so it's the amount.
You're taking not one, but you're taking 3. And then the Rogadorn has a lot of kind of perks. It's got more guns than a Russ. That said, there's a way to balance it out to make it do kind of all the different Rust features.
Yeah.
And then it's got this native once a game kind of ability where you can negate the damage output from one thing. So Angron comes up next to me, swings that big mighty axe, and does what? D6 plus how many damage?
Plus 2.
Woo! 8 damage. That's pretty nasty. Yes. I could say, nah, negate that one. One time only. But that one time is enough.
That's right.
On top of that, Rogadorn sits at T12, which means las cannons are rolling 4s against it.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Yes.
Spooky. Not a lot of people running around higher than T12 or strength 12. So it's got a perk to it. It's a big model, though, to be honest.
So it's a little bit tougher to kill on the tabletop. Got it. So las cannons are a little bit more of a challenge. They're not going to get any +1 to wound, right? Unless they're running a Predator and they have the twin-linked one, which is strength 14. But that's only one shot, right? It's twin-linked, which gives you the ability to potentially wound it, but might not wound it. You might roll a 1 or a 2 a couple times, right? And that's the hope, at least.
Or you wound it, and then you roll that massive damage, and I say negate that.
And you negate that. That's right. And from that one,
you're right. And I'll kill your Predator back. You're
right. You're right.
Take that, Space Marine players.
And the Rogadorn has a lot of shots as well. So
it does. It does.
Very,
you can throw Meltas on it. You can throw Stubbers on it. You can throw. Still takes the Hunter Killer on it. It's got 18 wounds over the Leman Russ, so it's also a little bit beefier.
Yep.
It's got a lot of good perks for it.
And it's a beautiful model.
It's a beautiful model as well.
It's one of the best looking things.
I would say, because it's part of that new line of GW models that came out, I would say it's one of those models to definitely keep your eye on. I would say it's also one of those things to keep an eye on in the meta as the meta continues to evolve into this more higher armor, higher centric kind of big model kind of concept. So last on my list is the ubiquitous Sentinel, which still continues to stand firm for the Guard. So the nice thing is the newest rules revision showed that Guard got, if you had the regiment keyword, you were lethal against infantry or troops. And if you had the squadron keyword, you were lethal against monsters or vehicles. Sentinels have both keywords, so they're lethal against everything.
Wow.
So
very strong unit. Yeah, and you say ubiquitous. So they are an auto-include. So what should the people be listening and taking away from this, right? Are you saying like, hey, make sure to have Ghost, Gaunt's Ghost, make sure to have Lord Solar. Don't forget the Sentinels. Don't leave them at home. And how should they equip them?
I would say looking at like a list kind of the current meta, right?
Yeah.
Guard strength has always been cheap units and taking a lot of them, right? You still want to try to go after that. You want to try to get cheap units and put a bunch of them in there. Perks about the Leman Russ is it's cheaper than like, let's say a Land Raider or a tank of comparable battle expenditure point wise, right?
Correct.
I mean, so a lot of lists are taking 3 to 4 Leman Russes, right? A lot of lists are taking a lot of vehicles now, especially since we're moving towards Monster Hammer and not, Warhammer, as I like to call it. I would say a good list is going to have elements of these, and pulling a lot more of these hot items is going to have you having a stronger list. I'm never going to tell you how to build a list. I am going to say that these are the items I would be looking at. These are the units I'd be looking at to take in my list to strengthen my army, right? That's the nice thing about Guard is you can play it however you want, man. And speaking of what's hot, let's take a look at what's not.
All right, let's take a look at that. So next up,
big
Guard meta
tech.
and what's not.
So in my opinion, currently, battle line troops, all types, kind of weak. The nerf didn't help. The fact that they took away the ability to reinforce and bring back those units kind of hurt. But in general, and just the meta in general, when you look at it, like T3 infantry that only have a 5/6 save, they just kind of die to bolt pistols. They die to kind of almost anything. Like a lot of opponents I'll be playing against as an afterthought will like, oh yeah, by the way, they'll shoot their bolt pistols at those guardsmen. And that's usually like 6 or 7 guardsmen that just die. You know?
So I won't skip a little bit too far ahead, but my thoughts are they should give them the green tide effect like orcs have, right? Like the orcs have, where they give them a 5+ invulnerable save against shooting. That might actually help them out in the new codex.
It could help them. Like other ways of doing it is figuring out a way to balance out reinforcements, but making it more than just maybe once a game. I don't know. GSC has the ability where, you know, on the first turn, like on a 4, 5, or 6, that unit comes back. Maybe doing the same thing with Guard and just battle line infantry, representing infantry being able to forever come back. Right? Not giving it to Sentinels, not giving it to other things that normally have it. That might balance it out in some way. I don't know.
But where are they coming from? Wouldn't you consider that heresy, sir?
No. According to the Good Lord's book, the Imperial Infantryman's Uplifting Primer, one of the good generals would say that if he had enough troops, he would choke the Eye of Terror with as many guardsmen as he could shove into it. And I mean, that's a fair strategy.
I love it. That is a fair strategy.
Big tournament-wise, I've been seeing no more than 3 battle line infantry. And usually they're taking the cheapest they can get their hands on, which is currently the Catachans, right?
Yeah.
You still get 2 flamethrowers out of them. That's pretty good. You get a 6-inch scout move that you can move them in the beginning of the game. That's pretty perky. And technically they can fight well. They swing at strength 4 with 2 attacks. The first round they charge or get charged. Of course, if they get charged, they just die. But, you know.
Yeah.
Against GSC, maybe. Against Eldar, sure. Maybe even against Gretchen. Yeah. But, again.
So you think you're paying for the sins of the Space Marines taking your cheap units for their allies? I think you are. I'll be honest with you. I think that's exactly why you're paying for the sins of the Space Marine players.
I would say, yeah. I would say that could be a big perk against us. Is that Guard have these cheap infantry units, but then again, that's what they are, cheap infantry units. You can build a list where you could take 200 guardsmen. It's doable.
Yes.
And making your opponent eat 200 wounds is going to take him a hot moment. I just don't see it going to tournaments. I haven't seen an infantry-heavy list go to tournaments since after the meta.
It'd be more of a nuisance than anything else, right? Because you would have to chew through 200 models that just can't punch up at all. But chewing through 200 models is a feat within itself.
I would say it's a feat, but I'd say with like World Eaters and with like some of the other main units, each of those units, like those elite units, hitting one unit of 20-man guardsmen, they can easily dish out 20 wounds.
Yeah.
Chop, chop, turn all my guardsmen into sushi. You know?
Confetti!
Yay, guard confetti! Hooray! Death notices for everyone.
Red, white, and blue confetti.
It does. I will say as a side thought, like even the Krieg with their 65-point units, like, and their abilities to like, oh, I can natively bring people back. You're not losing the 3 models initially that people were like, oh, I lost 3 guys. Cool, I can bring back D3. You know, I can take enough losses that I can continue having a cost-effective unit. People are just wiping units out like that.
They can. Yeah, there are some armies that can do that very effectively. That have enough attrition, right? Enough bullets to actually do that. But it's still going to take them a couple of turns. Still going to take them a couple of turns to kill 200 models.
And that's again the beauty of guard is even though it's what's not hot, it's still a
Yeah,
possibility.
absolutely.
Speaking of what's not hot, indirect
Yes.
fire.
Yes.
Lewis, you've seen the nerfing. I've seen the nerfing.
I
Even
have.
guard players have been making nonstop memes about it. The Manicore, stop it. It's dead already. Stop hurting it. Right?
Well, I think once again you're paying for the sins of another faction, right? Like Thousand Suns, Orcs, where they had their buggies they can shoot indirect fire and obliterate an entire 20 unit, 20 model unit of guardsmen. So I think once again you're paying for that, which really sucks for you guys.
I mean, yeah, I would definitely agree with you. There are still some lists out there that took Manicores, but I would
Yeah.
say that has dramatically dropped off. Basilisks, which, I mean, even I was trying to figure out a way to bring a Basilisk just for the functionality of being able to cause my opponent to lose movement, which is huge in this version of 40K.
It is.
I still couldn't figure out a way to justify 140 points for a Basilisk.
Wow.
They are too expensive and they don't give enough bang for the buck that I'm paying for.
Yep.
Right? So I want it. I want the indirect fire. The guardsman in me craves it. And maybe in the next edition, we're going to figure out a way to balance out indirect fire and keep the game still being fun. I don't know. The guard had all these abilities where it would make it so you could shoot indirect fire on threes. GW nerfed that. The guard had abilities where, indirect fire was going to do the Lord's work. And even then, like, I wouldn't say GW nerfed it, but GW price hiked it and taxed it heavily. A Manicore is 190 points. That's a lot, man. That's a lot. I can get a Lehman Russ for that. And honestly, better point pay for my points.
That's right. Better value for your money. Yep. Better bang.
Better bang.
Yep. Literally better bang.
Literally. But
Love it.
Keep going. I will say
do
these
it.
are, and this is just the Dice Commissar's hat on this, but these are the sleeper units that people are slipping into their armies that I would say are causing that extra little, I don't know, pièce de résistance, the extra little oomph to get you over. And that's what's turning these lists into 4-1 or 4-2 or 5-1 or 6-0 lists.
Yes.
Is I think it's creative uses of additional units, and these are more units that are doing all of the action monkey stuff, which is getting you those secondary points, which is letting you win the game, right?
Yep.
You yourself have said it. Secondary missions is a huge function of this meta.
It is.
Being able to do that 28-point swing on turn 5, game changer.
It is.
You
Big
thought
time.
you were winning. Aha! Let me change your points. So speaking of that, the 3 units I kind of brought up as sleeper units, Rough Riders. I will be the first one to tell you I love the ponies. 100%. 120 points. You get 10 guys that are 20 wounds total collectively, right? So they're still under the threshold for that secondary objective now in Nexus Pariah, right? So they don't proc that. They have a little bit of a niche in getting used to using them, right? You have to learn how to creatively use your orders on them. But when they are ordered effectively, they're moving anywhere from 12 to 15 inches a turn. They have the ability to disengage and charge again, right? So you charge me, you don't kill them all, I'll disengage and charge you back. That's pretty nasty.
Love it. And
they also
spears right up where the sun don't shine. Yep.
Yeah, they will give you that Melta Spear all day long. But even more impressively is the fact that they have frag grenades as well they can attack with, right? That's D6 attacks per model. So prospectively, you're looking at 10 D6 worth of attacks against like a little fluff unit, like all the Termagants that have been coming out, those lists that have been taking Termies, those lists that have been taking Gene Stealer cultists in like large packs, those Horde armies. This unit kills Horde straight up. a murder, death, kill, right? It hits on 3s, it wounds on 2s because it's strength 4 with lance, which means orcs and less, it wounds on 2s. Or it wounds on 3s, then, wounds on 4s, then 3s, or 3s, then 2s.
2s, yes.
So, pretty nasty. The fact that it can dart around the board and sit on objectives, the fact that you can bring it back one time with reinforcements, it's a pretty good game changer, in my opinion. That's why a lot of the lists I've been seeing out there take 2 of them for 20 of those pony boys running around.
Really? So 10 and 10. 2 units of 10. Wow. And that could be, and you use it just effectively, like you were saying, right? And a little bit of chaff, road blocking kind of your enemies, things like that, so they don't get into all the cream goody stuff like the tanks.
Yeah, so you can use it as a screen, right? It deploys naturally as a screen. You're going to put it on your front line, like your opponent's going to put his melee heavy units on the front line. But the perk about it is that you can get across the board in turn 1, just like kind of like Gene Stealers, World Eaters, Orcs, right? You're also having that ability to charge across the table. So now, if I put my ponies on the front line and you put your guys on the front line, it gets down to the die roll, right? If I go first, I'm putting 10 ponies into your frontline orcs, and that's going to hurt.
Yep.
That's going to hurt bad. That's not going to be a nice touch. I mean, on top of...
Yeah. Go ahead, brother.
Speaking of nice touch, you go first, buddy.
Scions. So Scions, right? So, Scions are pretty an auto-include. I see every time I played a guard player, Scions have always been in their list. Scions are nasty. Scions are always going against my Angron, and it makes me angry for Angry Ron. And they're pretty disgusting. They're pretty disgusting, especially what they can do as soon as they deep strike.
So the fact that they deep strike is already something nifty in the guard, right? Guard doesn't have a lot of deep striking units. Scions have that deep strike ability. On top of that, in the 5-man unit, you're taking something like, you can either get a Melta and a Plasma, you could take a Flamer, you get 2 special weapons right off the bat. So they have a lot of little utility. If you take them in 10-man, you get 4 special weapons, which is pretty good. And at 100 points for 10 dudes, that's Casterkin prices at a better than Casterkin, in my opinion.
Yes. Yep.
Again, this is the Commissar speaking, not endorsed by GW. Just says it. But I will say they have a lot of love. Now, Deep Strike is good, but really good players, especially the caliber that you're going to be playing in tournaments, are learning to effectively screen out Deep Strike.
That's right.
Right? I mean, you're going to do the same thing with your World Eaters. You're going to sit there and try to make sure I can't put any of my crap in your back end to score those cheap and easy points. Because if you give me one opportunity, I'm going to take it.
Yep.
So, I like Scions. I think they're good. I think they're a sleeper. Some would even say they're in the meta. I would agree both. They do take a little bit of learning to use them correctly. Okay. I don't take them because I know a lot of people are really good at screening out Deep Strike.
And how is your correct way to use them? What do you want to tell the people here today and how to use them effectively?
So again, going back to the current play for 40K on 10th edition, it is still all about secondaries, right? Scions are once again a unit that you can use to pick off those secondary objectives, to get in, grab that thing and pull it off. Maybe even looking at lone units sitting out and guarding a random objective off the side of the board all by themselves. Scion has enough firepower to punch through that lone unit typically, right? Those 5 interceptor space marines. I think 10 Scions kill those guys right off the bat.
Yep.
And like you said, Scions also bring enough firepower that they can kill some of the bigger things.
They can.
So there is a little bit of love there. There's some usage.
Okay.
I would say I like them, but I don't take them. The last thing in the sleeper unit, Ratlings. They've come out hard. Right now, the current meta is to screen out your opponent in the infiltrate phase.
Yep.
And I would say Ratlings at 60 points, you get...
They're cheap.
They're cheap. They still have an effective use. If you take Lord Solar after you deploy them, you can pick them up and redeploy them at the end of the deployment part. So now you can screen out your opponent and still get your cake and have them shoot people. I've taken them and put them on tall structures just to make that Space Marine, just to make that AP power of the sniper rifle just a little bit better. They go from AP2 to AP3.
Wow.
With plunging fire. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Obscure rules for the win-win. On top of that, against World Eaters, I've effectively used them repeatedly by putting that little Bangle date out there, letting those guys eat a charge or two or one, and then immediately countercharging with those ponies or countercharging with, a variety of other things, and making sure you lay waste to those alpha units coming across the table, right? It's a way to effectively stop your opponent from getting mission creep in the beginning of the game.
So multiple layers of screens between the ratlings, the ponies being right behind them, and then all of your guns right behind. That makes it very difficult for armies like orcs, world eaters, things like that to effectively destroy the things that they need to destroy. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
My weapons that I'm going to be using to lay waste to your army are all on my tanks, typically. I mean, the ponies kind of throw a little wrench in that whole thing. They make an aggressive guard list, which a lot of people don't expect. They don't expect guard players to come across and charge you in turn one. Like, what? Why am I getting charged?
By guard.
by guard? What do you mean? Wait, you hit me on twos? Wait, you wound me on twos? AP -4?
Yeah.
Bad touch. I mean, it's
love it.
It is. It's a very effective way of reaching out, poking someone in the face, and then kind of continuing to poke someone in the face. Right? The guard kind of concept is you just feed your enemy units, and eventually he won't be able to chew through all of them. Right? You throw in successful waves. Other good guard players have talked about this over and over again, is being able to use your successive numbers because you're bringing in enough models on the board, and then just patiently feeding the beast and trying to kill things that are trying to kill you. Right? You got your target priority, right? Angron's got to go. That unit of 8 pound, they got to go. They're out. But after that, after you successfully neuter an army, you're able to then effectively still score opponents.
Yep.
So that's why I like these sleeper units. They have what I like to say is super merit. And as far as guard are concerned, it's a way of winning those extra secondaries over your opponent.
And that concludes the PowerPoint today, but we're going to get into your wish list. But before we get into your wish list, make sure everyone who's watching, right? I'm going to put the Dice Commissar's army list in the YouTube description section so you can see exactly what he's playing effectively on the tabletop right now. All right? Make sure you know exactly what you need to do with the guard currently so you can win and take victory. So give us 1 second, and we're going to talk about the new codex and wish list for it.
Enter the Crucible 2024. Crucible is more than a gaming convention. It's a community gathering in beautiful Florida, the largest offering of tabletop gaming, including RPGs, board games, card games, with access to tons of vendors. Meet Carvey. I love this little guy. Whoa, Carvey's excited. With Crucible around the corner, aren't you? Crucible 2024 is held in Orlando, Florida, a great place to visit. Not to mention, Universal Studios Florida is right next door to the Crucible. By staying at Doubletree Universal, you support Crucible 2024. Be sure to use the link on the website and get a great discount. Crucible is a community event of the year. Join your friends, make new ones, and have an epic 3 days of gaming and shopping. That got Carvey going again. Carvey, no! Watch out for the chainsword!
Tim, bring back Carvey. We need him for the show.
I'm on it.
No, Tim, you created Carvey's back. You did it, Tim.
I rerolled a save. Join us and Carvey September 6th through the 8th for Crucible 2024. Scan the QC code to grab your tickets now. We would love to have you, and we hope you enjoy Carvey. Say bye, Carvey. I love that guy.
So we're back after that quick commercial break. Go ahead. We're going to talk about the new meta and Dice Commissar's wish list. And I have a couple of things that I'm going to include in there as well because I know what they've been doing to all of the other codexes. So let's see if they do the same thing to yours. We'll see.
Make sure you click that subscribe button. Otherwise, the Commissar finds you.
That's right. Make sure to like,
Subscribe.
share, and subscribe as always. Thank you.
Well, if the Commissar had a wish list of things he could see, he's hoping for, as always, everyone's got, what, 6 detachments in this every book now?
Roughly, but well, Blood Angels is dropping only 3. So they've been fluctuating depending which ones, which factions they're coming out with. But yeah, roughly between 3 and 6.
I think what would be kind of cool would be going to the ability of like how we had detachments. So like Guard always have worked in this whole construct of like, oh, you have a platoon and then you have a company and then that company's made various platoon factions, right? I think some sort of command hierarchy structure would be nifty. It would also be fluff and lore accurate, and that'd be kind of fun, right? So bringing back the ubiquitous like tank company, and then you're only taking tanks. That would be kind of cool. Detachment, like, oh, it's a mech detachment, so it's mechanized infantry. So you have all these chimeras, and you get these extra rules for being able to jump out of tanks and do those things, right? And then an infantry company, which is all foot slogging guardsmen, and then a scion company. I think that would be kind of cool. They did that in one of the editions. I want to say like 8th, 7th, 9th. No, it wasn't 9th. It was definitely 8th or 7th. Where they did something like comparable to that, where you had these niche detachments, and then you got orders for that, so your tanks became better. I think if they did like a tank company, and they didn't give you the ability to fall back and shoot, that would make me sad. But I think that's something all guardsmen crave, is the ability to pull back my troops out of combat that have somehow survived the horror of close combat with whatever, and giving them the ability to immediately turn around and shoot at my opponent. I've always thought that was a nifty order. That said, currently in 10th, you can't give orders to things that are battle shocked, so I don't know how they're going to balance that out.
Maybe get back into ranks or something like that.
There was kind of fall back in ranks or form up, or there was an order to that comparable. I mean, in 9th edition, we were given something like 18 orders, and that was a little mind-boggling. It made us a more specialized army to play because you had to learn all these different freaking orders. But it'd be nice to get more orders for me to give to my guardsmen, more orders to me to give to my tanks. They had it so it was 6 tank orders, 6 infantry orders, and then 6 orders from the order prefixes, aka the Commissars. The Commissars had their own nifty little order set, right? And I think if they did something like that, we would see more Commissars being used. And, that's like kind of like as a Commissar myself, something I want to see. I want to see more Commissars out there. Bring back the Commissar.
Absolutely. And if I remember correctly, you used to have a lot of, the more models you had in the army, the more fearless they were, or the amount per unit there would be fearless per unit. I think
so. One thing they did have was a Commissar made a unit of infantry stubborn, and so that means they could ignore leadership modifiers, right?
That would be nice to see. Yes.
That would be kind of cool. It was always nifty, and the ability to, they still have the Commissar being able to shoot and just go, okay, oh no, I'm about to be battle shocked. Pop. No, we're not battle shocked. Get back to the fight, you bunch of goobers.
Yeah, we're good.
Like with the introduction of more and more things doing battle shock, like Tyranids are just like battle shock, which makes me kind of wary playing them as a guardsman player, because if I'm battle shocked, I can't get orders. I think having an ability to to remove battle shock would be kind of cool.
So what do you want to see them improve on particular units? What units do you think really need a buff?
I think they need to figure a way to make the infantrymen a little bit better. Not a lot, right? Either make them cheaper or make them more useful, right? Like the Catachan's ability to go up in a fight and get +1 strength and +1 attack. Woo! Krieg initially, I mean, and still to this day, they still have the ability where if they're under half strength, they fire better. That's cool. But generally speaking, if my Kriegsmen get shot at, all of them die, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to let like 5 of them stand still. I don't know, maybe figuring a way that they could, like, one of the things we floated for a while was, what if Guard got the ability, if I shot you with las guns and then shot you with more las guns, the second set of las guns would get an AP -1, right?
Okay.
So where you're getting that focused firepower, kind of the GSC ability or something like that, right?
Yep.
Seeing how they would maybe give back some of the other factions, like bringing back the Ice World guys. That'd be kind of cool. Bringing back some of the Morty and Iron Guard, where if you put them in, there used to be a rule where if you slap them all next to each other, base to base, they get an improved ballistic ability, right? Stuff like that. I think they could make niche Guard units kind of more fun. That's the one thing about Guard that's always been like an exciting thing, is you get to pick how your Guard are, right? Like, oh, my Guard come from the back world planet of Virginia. Like, all right, cool, Guardsmen. Get your rifle and follow on in. They got shotguns. Still counts.
So right? Games Workshop already previewed that they're going to be dropping a Death Corps of Krieg detachment. How do you feel about that? Are you loving that? Guys with just gas mask, right? Maybe they get feel no pain. Maybe they get some infiltrates. I don't know. You tell me. You're in the world of the Astra Militarum. So what do you think they should get?
So Krieg are, as I would like to say, so hot right now. They're just, I mean, they're shovel wielding, stoic guardsmen that are, if you read the lore, maybe clones. Ooh. Don't tell anyone. Commissar told you not to do that. Anywho, they have a lot of fun lore behind them. And their rules already are pretty nifty, right? They get feel no pains. Their officers make them have a better feel no pain. On their riders, they get the ability to infiltrate if you bring the officer along with the riders, right? So there's a lot of nifty things about that. I think the detachment would benefit from fixed artillery sites, maybe making those more fun. Maybe making it so you get, or you want to take actually the one piece of fixed terrain that Guard get. For 145 points, you can bring your own piece of trench, which currently you can do in the index. Does anyone do that? No. I think making that maybe a little bit cheaper, finding a way of making that a little more fun. That way I could take battle line infantry and put them in the trench and have them shooting at you. Like the thematic concept of it. That's a cool idea. And if they're going to do like that, which they said they are, or they previewed at least the Death Corps of Krieg, then I fully expect them to do a Scion list. We all got really excited, by the way, when they showed off the new kill team, and we're like, oh, Legion drop troops! And it turned out to be just a fancier faction of Scions, which, it's okay. That said, Legion drop troops would be kind of cool. Airborne infantry. I know 1 or 2 army guys that are going to say airborne, and I'm just a dirty, dirty leg. You hear that, Lewis? I'm just a dirty, dirty leg.
Yeah. And I'm just a fat tanker. That's it. A fat tanker. So do you think they're going to dwarf anything like they've been doing to the current Space Marine faction?
I don't know.
Anything is going to get, legend, where they're just going to throw it out and no longer? Do you think ratlings are going to disappear maybe?
Who knows? It could come up on the chopping block. I see something that could definitely go is a lot more of the Imperial armor items. So a lot of like the Rapier laser destroyer. That's a hot thing right now that's still being used exclusively by a lot of people, but it's a kind of a niche model. I could see that getting on the chopping block. I could see some of the more inherently rare variants of armor, of Imperial armor, going on the chopping block. They have the rules for it in the index, but I haven't seen it getting used a lot. Maybe even a variant of the Bane blade could go on the chopping block. So, who
Ooh,
knows?
you heard it. Yeah.
I will say one thing I hope they bring off the chopping block: bring back my man Yarrick. Bring back Yarrick. Bring back Yarrick.
They did say that they don't know where he's at. They don't know if he's dead or alive, right? He's mysteriously somewhere.
I mean, let's see. He's mysteriously somewhere. I don't know, a current Cadian commander, Creed-isk could be like sitting in a Tesseract. Who knows? Who knows? Just saying, maybe it's time for some people to escape the Tesseract and kind of come back. Right?
So Yard comes back with his power claw from the orcs and a Necron arm or something like that.
That would be dope. I think bringing back some more characters, I think that'd be kind of cool. The Catachan, I think if they're going to bring back anything, or maybe bring back a new model line, taking the Catachan models, which everyone loves the concept of Catachans, right? It's big, beefy dudes from Predator, right? Like commando type people who've been powerlifting for years. And taking those kind of guys and giving them all a new resculpt and giving it some love, I think that could be kind of cool. They've done it here and there with one-offs, right?
Primaris Yarick?
I don't think that's going to happen. It almost sounds like heresy. Nope, bad. I would say, seeing what they do, if they're going to keep Rough Riders, I think they're going to keep them because they just released a new model for them. So those guys are pretty much set.
Yeah.
I would like to see how they maybe gen up the Rough Riders, make them better, make them worse. Who knows? Currently, I love them. So who knows? I do see them trying to maybe push the Bane Blade on people. So like, I'll see that book drop and I bet you $1. The rules for the Bane Blade are going to be like, wah! It's going to be ridiculous. And people are going to be like, Bane Blade's the new meta. I'm going to call it right now. This is the thing. That's the thing I'm going to say. Bane Blade's going to be the new meta when the book drops.
You think so, huh? Bane Blades and Rogodorns. Everything that's brand new, they're going to try to make sure to market and sell.
A Bane Blade, I mean, the one reason I don't run a Bane Blade is because it's 400 points. But it's a big, fun model to play with. I mean, look at this thing. Look at this guy. He's just so beefy. He's got so much girth, and he's toughness 13. You know, so he basically gets to laugh at everything shooting at him. 2-up armor save, toughness 13. He's got more guns on him than a small platoon worth of people. He's just a rolling fortress, and he gets angry. I think they could upgrade the Bane Blade, give him some better rules, and I would see him coming in, becoming the meta.
Drop his points a little bit, and that'll put him in a perfect sweet spot.
Like 300, 350, 360 points. People would play with him. I could see people playing with him. Absolutely. He could be kind of like a fun Hallmark Pierce. The only thing that kind of sucks is all the terrain right now isn't optimized for a super heavy like that to move through. So that would be kind of...
Well, that's why they have to drop him in points, right? Because it's not super optimized on the GW layouts. And if GW knows their own layouts, they would know that it's very challenging to move vehicles of that magnitude and size through everything. Even though we've been noticing some Tesseract bolts from Necrons coming back as of late, which are 12 by 12 pyramids. So hopefully Bane Blades can actually have a presence and be present in the new codex. So what are you into? So what are you really wishing for as a giddy little kid on Christmas Day for your new codex that drops in 2025?
I know no one wants to talk about flyers, and I know everyone hates flyers, but the giddiest you would ever see is for me to be able to use my Valkyries again.
That would be nice. Yes.
I think that would be kind of cool if they made Imperial flyers just a little bit better.
Yeah.
just give them just a bit more in there. Just a little bit more.
That would be
probably not
nice.
going to happen. But you know, like Fever Dream me, I would love to see like an Elysian like Scion drop troop army that kind of
Yes.
features the Valkyries, and it like deep strikes everywhere, and Valkyries are flying everywhere, and you know, you're just kind of fast moving and doing all that. That's kind of a cool jazz. That would be kind of a lot of fun.
I love it. I love it. So, what else you want to tell to the people today, brother? Before we head out, anything
Well,
else?
Well, I mean, I
you're
could give
thinking
you the thought of the day from the guardsman here. It says, pain is an illusion of the senses, despair, an illusion of the mind. So remember, kids, make sure you're reading your Imperial Uplifting Primer, and make sure that you're shooting heretics.
And don't look up into the sky, because if you do, you'll turn into chaos.
Yeah, that would be bad. Yeah, don't do that. Commissar and me has to shoot you.
Exactly. Thank you very much, brother, for you and everything that you've given us today and participating. Mr. Dice Commissar, we love you. I can't wait to see you in a couple of days. Thank you to everyone for participating and paying attention to all of the Dice Commissar's information. I'm going to do a quick outro. I'll see you in a few, brother. Go ahead and tell the audience goodbye. And
Lewis, I can't wait to see you at the Crucible.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you want to see the Dice Commissar in all of his glory, hat, jacket, all of it, he'll take pictures with you at the Crucible. So make sure you pick up your tickets if you haven't gotten your tickets. It's heresy not to go to the Crucible if you're in Florida.
That's right. And I'm going to take a lot of pictures of him, too. He's going to be doing a lot of special things. He's going to be a very special actor when it comes to the 40K scene down there. So don't you worry. I'll make sure to share those photos somewhere on social media, maybe here even on the next show that we do together or on the next show that I have live coming in a week or so.
That'd be kind of cool showing a highlight of the Crucible
Absolutely.
on the show. That would be pretty badass.
Exactly what I plan on doing. Yes. Yep. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much for everything. And I'll see you in a second.
General Slaughter for the Emperor.
For the Emperor. Thank you, everyone, for watching this special episode with me and the Dice Commissar. Thank you very much to the Dice Commissar for everything that he's brought to us today. What a lovely individual, hilarious individual, a good friend of mine who's been playing Astra Militarum for a very, very long time. Hopefully, you get exactly what you want when it comes out to the new codex dropping in 2025 for the Astra Militarum. Hopefully, you enjoyed today's content on the current meta. Make sure to go check out his current lists for the Astra Militarum that I put in the YouTube description section. Thank you once again to everyone. And as always, Onslaught Gaming 40K, where victory is just a strategy away. Take care, everyone, and have a wonderful night.